Another day, another ride. I had a very nice stay at the campsite and my visits to Stockholm were beautiful. The sunny weather also helped. Because the evenings were still very chilly, I was glad I was allowed to use this cabin. The online reviews of the campsite are not always positive. The fact that the sinks for brushing your teeth or washing are located in the same room as the toilets indeed makes it a bit annoying to find a free toilet in the morning. There are only 6 toilets available, and given the number of pitches on the campsite, that is on the tight side. But you can't blame the campsite staff for the toilets and showers being dirty. I've seen that they clean the sanitary facilities regularly and the staff doesn't make them dirty again. You have to blame the other guests at the campsite for that. When I was a student, I worked on a campsite as well during the summer holidays for a couple of years. Together with other young men, I was assigned a safety guide, but we were also responsible for cleaning the sanitation. And more than once, complaints about the filthiness of a sanitary building were filed at the reception within half an hour of cleaning. In some rare cases, people had painted on the wall and ceiling with their own excrements, and judging by the fingerprints, they had done so with their bare hands. That's truly something you cannot imagine people doing. Perhaps they wanted to mark their territory in that way, like some animals do. The first part of today's ride went through urban areas and along highways. If you want to avoid off-road riding, you are forced to ride on highways and main roads. These roads are quite straight and lined with trees on both sides. A Swede called them boring, but I still find them pleasant to ride on. The highlights of today were the 2 bridges I crossed, and then the song by Kim Wilde always pops into my head. View from a bridge. In the evening, after arriving at the campsite in Uppsala, the weather changed. It began to rain and that didn't stop for 2 days. I didn't do much, except for some shopping and editing videos. So, a few days later. I have at least one bad habit, and that is that if something can be damaged, I will damage it for sure, sooner or later. When I arrived at the campsite at Uppsala, I was assigned a camping spot, and when I was looking for it, I didn't take the width of Tricity into account enough, and I hit a concrete planter, and as a result, one of the cases is damaged. As you can see, the case came off the rack, and if you look at the back, it's obvious that the shape of the rack on the right side isn't as it's supposed to be. But that's not the only problem. There's also a crack and a hole in the case itself. So I have to repair it. Because the rack is too sturdy, or maybe I'm not strong enough to bend it back by hand, I need an alternative way to try it. But with the appropriate tools, I first have to remove the rack for that. So let's give it a try. So as you can see, I demounted the rack, but that was the easy part. Now let's try the hard. Well, at first I thought this table would help because this fits, but the planks are too loose. So yeah, I'm afraid that doesn't work. It's a pity. But then I saw this table with these planks, and well, they are a bit more sturdy. So let's give it a try. It seems to help a little bit. Well, it's not straight enough yet, but it seems to help. Only you have to fit this in, and that's a bit difficult. Well, it's not straight, but a lot straighter than it was. So let's give it a try with the suitcase. Well, after some efforts, I managed to get the case back on the rack again. But I do have some spare parts now, so it was really hard to get it fit, but it's sturdy enough. Well, after warming the case with a hand dryer, I was able to push the dent outwards, and with a cigarette lighter I burned the cracks a little bit, so I'm very happy with the result. And now I have these patches to make it completely waterproof again. Although it doesn't look good at the picture, I'm very satisfied with the result. And then it was time to visit Uppsala.